Welcome, this is Ava at ilovetostamp.com. I'm a Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I thought since Christmas is coming up, why not show you a card that you can send out to your loved ones, and it's got some really cool elements. And the reason I love this card is because you can actually attach your family photo here. I intend to do that, but I will take our photos on Thanksgiving and I'll be able to send it out to my friends and family. So anyway, I love this because it's a fancy fold and it's just a super pretty card as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so what you need for this card is you're going to need quite a few things, to be honest, but it's really fun. So you need the Merry Christmas to All stamp set, which we will be using. You will need 2 sets of dies. One is the Detail Deer and the other one is the Merry Christmas thin lid dies. You will also need 2 embossing folders. One is going to be the Swirls and Curls, and the other one is the Corrugated Dynamic embossing folder, which I love both of them. Inks we'll use today are the Mossy Meadow, Soft Suede, and Cherry Cobbler. We'll also be playing with the Vegas Gold Shimmers paint, which I love. It's super fun, especially for all these festive products. You will need colored doilies. You will also need the 2-inch circle punch. You'll also need the coordinating starburst punch. I love this because these two go together and they're just perfect all the time. These are the dies, well, some of the dies we're going to use today. I'm using soft suede cardstock. You'll need very vanilla. You'll need a little bit of cherry cobbler. And I will list all of these, so don't worry, you don't have to write them down. I will list all of these on my blog. You also need the gold glimmer paper. And so here, basically, these are the ones we're going to use. So let me just show you the card base, what you'll need, other than those pieces. What I'm using is the Festive Farmhouse Designer Series papers, and I like it because they're double-sided. They're perfect to play with and to create really fun things. So that's one item. So again, you'll need, 5.5 is the width, and it's 12 inches long, obviously. So you just cut a 5.5 strip. You will need for the inside, this part here, you'll need a 4-inch by 5.25 inch, just like you would for a regular A2 size card. So that's that. The other item you will need is going to be 3 3/4 inch by 2. So it's going to be 3 3/4 inch by 2 3/4 inch. And this one is just a smidget larger. So you'll just need to cut a tiny bit larger from the very vanilla. Okay, and then you'll use this for, again, die cutting. So let's get started. I'm gonna start out with die cutting everything. So we will die cut the word, die cut the sentiment here, the label, the deer, and I think that's it. Yes, so let me just grab my Big Shot and let's get that going here. So as I mentioned, we're basically going to be using the die cut the Merry word, and I like to cut basically just enough for what I'm using. So these papers are so special to me that I don't like to waste them, so I literally just cut as little as I need. In this case, that's all I need. So, well, I guess I need to turn this around. All right, so I'm gonna die cut that piece. I just go back and forth, especially on this paper, although I never really have a problem. It's super easy to come out. As you can see, it just falls right out. No need to poke anything with this one. It's awesome. Okay, so our Merry word is done. Next we'll do the deer. And I really love this deer too. It's so pretty, isn't it? Okay, so we'll die cut that one. All right. And there is our deer. See how easy that goes? Super fun. So we now have the deer and that. And I'm actually going to wait with die cutting this because I prefer to stamp this first and then die cut. So we'll wait with that. I'm gonna put. Next we'll go ahead and emboss with the corrugated folder. And I am putting this in this way because I wanted it to be vertical. And in this case, you're just gonna need your Big Shot platform and place your embossing folder down with the paper inside and then just one of the boards. And you only go through it once. And sometimes it needs a little coaxing. And here you are. So there is your lovely paper. Next, since we're embossing, I'm gonna go ahead and emboss my beautiful deer as well, because that one is a regular embossing folder. That one will require two of the pads. So I'm just gonna place this inside. And I want it to face this way, so I'm going to put it in this way. Okay. Running through. Okay. And look how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. Okay, so that's that. And while we're at this, I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp my sentiment label and then go ahead and die cut that piece as well. So for that, I just need a piece of very vanilla. And I'm using the Mossy Meadow and Cherry Cobbler. So first I'm going to stamp my label. And next I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my sentiment, which is just the word Christmas, and that one is using Cherry Cobbler. Okay. Oops, I got a little too much ink. Not that it matters really, because that won't be affected. Anyway, I'm gonna stamp this in the middle. You can use Stamparatus here if you want to, but you can also eye it, which is what I typically do with, you know, smaller pieces like that. Okay, so now since I stamped that, now I'll be able to cut it. So that way we can put the die cutter machine away. So I'm just gonna place this on here, and I will need to find my, oh, maybe I haven't taken it out. I am gonna have to take my die out. That would be helpful, right? So anyway, place that on here, just so, and run it through. Make sure that it's still staying in the same spot. You could use the magnetic folder. Oops, looks like I haven't put my thin die adapter for die cutting. It's very important after you emboss, you put that back. So let's see. Let's line this guy up again. Looks good. Okay, now we'll get a label here. Okay. And I don't need to die cut this twice, so there it is. There's my label. Okay, put this aside, and also the embossing folder and all that. So now we have these guys cut out, right? The next thing I'm going to do, if you can see on my card here, I actually used a little bit of gold shimmer paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that right now, and it's very easy. You just shake it up, and what I did is I just used my fingers, to be honest with you. It's so easy. and I'm just gonna go over it a little bit, and it looks like I need a little more. So you can see you'll just get a little bit of shimmer on there, not a whole lot, but just a little bit. There, just a tad bit. As you can see, it's pretty cool. And I'm also doing the same on this piece, so just here and there. Really, it's not that much, just randomly. Some places it's more, some places it's less. And this is a perfect place to clean your finger off. So there, so it's gonna look like this. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I like it. All right, now I got gold finger. So next step will be basically to build this card. Okay, so we did the die cutting. I have my label, everything else. So what we'll do next is, basically what we'll do is put the card base together. So all the folding. So what we'll do now is do all the scoring. So I love my Stampin' Up cutting machine because it also has the scoring tool built into it. Just recently purchased it because I had another cutter, but I really love this right now. So anyway, so what we'll do is we're going to take this and horizontally score it. So at the horizontal edge. So the first scoring we're going to have is going to be at the 4¼ inch, because that's where the base is going to be. Next, we're going to 7¼ Okay, so the score there, and the last scoring is going to happen at 10¼ Okay, so that's that. So very easy, right? So once again, 4¼ 7¼ and 10¼ So the way we build this card is we can use this as our guide here, and I'm going to use my bone folder. Oh, where did I put my bone folder? Right here. Okay, so my bone folder. So basically I'm going to fold, let's see, we're gonna do it like this. I'm going to fold this one in, and you can decide at this point how do you want it. Okay, so maybe actually I want to make it the same way I did it here, so I'll use it the same way. So I'm folding this part in here, so this is the part we are at. Then next I'm going to fold it like this. Okay, so that's the next one, and the last one is going to be folded in like this. So you basically have like a harmonica, but this is how it's going to look like. So that's the 4¼ 7¼ and 10¼ and that's basically it for the card base. So next what I'll do is I'm going to glue down one little section. It looks like I have a brand new tear tape here. Okay, so this part we want to glue down with this part, so I'm going to just use my tear tape. You can use snails here, whatever your preference is. I just love tear tape. I can always trust that it's glued down. Not that you don't with the snail, but this one for sure. Okay. Sometimes you have to burnish it a little. Okay, so there you have it. So here is your card, basically. Next, if you want to, we could actually glue this in here now, because there's gonna be, basically all we're gonna do is just stamp this part. We could stamp it now, or you could stamp it later. So, but I'm gonna glue it in right now, and I'm gonna use my snail because this one is super easy. Okay, so I'm gonna place it in the middle. Okay, that's that. So next what we'll do is go ahead and build our front. So once again, we'll work on this part here. What I did on some of the edges of my card, I basically used the dauber and the soft suede, and I edged it just on the edges. I inked it up on the edges. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. Once again, it's just an art piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape this down, and I will use the tear tape on this simply because it is corrugated, and I just want to make sure that it's not gonna pull up. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and line it up with this and adhere it in the middle. Next, we're going to adhere the deer, and that one you can use, if you like, you can use liquid glue, glue dots, whatever you want really. I like the glue dots, I mean the liquid glue, because you can really easily use it with anything that is like smaller. And since the deer has legs, it was easier to use it with that. And it dries very fast. So there is that. Next, what I'm going to adhere to this is my word Mary. And I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna use it with the liquid glue once again. Just add a few dots here and there. It's super easy and quick. And I'm going to place it right here. You can place it like this if you want, but I decided to use it just straight. And using Stampin' Dimensionals, I added my label. Oh, by the way, you also can, which is what I did on my card, ink up the edges of that, once again using soft suede. This has become my favorite antiquing tool. Okay, so I'm just gonna attach this with some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I like the minis because I prefer, I mean everything is kind of small on the smaller scale, so I prefer to use the minis myself. Okay. And it's very easy. I'm just gonna adhere it right here, and it's super cute. Okay, next what we'll do is we can actually attach this to the card front. So what I want you to pay attention to here is that I want to make sure that it's gonna be in the middle of this, right? Not here, not here. Of course, if you want to do it that way, you can, but I decided to put this in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and add my glue just here on this part, right? And once again, I'm going to use tear tape. Again, I like tear tape, and it's always easy to work with. Okay. All right. So now, except with tear tape, you can't pull it back up. So I'm going to make sure that this is in the middle as best as I can. Okay, it looks like it is. So there. And there is my opening. Isn't that cute? I love it. Okay, so we're done with the front. Next, we'll work on the inside here. And for that inside part, I used one of the doilies. Sometimes I cut them in half because I just use a part of it, but in this case, I'm using the whole thing. And the other thing I'm using here is going to be a piece of cherry cobbler as well, and I am actually just punching a 2-inch circle, which is where I'm going to gold emboss my sentiment, and I'm going to use the Starburst punch to punch out my gold glimmer paper, and there you have it. And then I'm gonna go see it's layered like that and layered like this. So basically next step is going to be just gold embossing this. Okay, I think I better put this away before I put my card on it. So I'm going to take my, I need to find first of all the little sentiment, which once again is coming from here, wishing you peace and love all year long. And it just happens to fit into the circle perfectly. So I'm gonna just use my Versamark. But before I do, let me not forget to use my embossing buddy because it will save my artwork. Okay, so I'm just gonna stamp it in the middle. And using gold embossing powder, tap off the excess. And I use my trusty tweezers to hold it so I don't burn my fingers, and just go ahead and emboss. And voila, all embossed. So next we're going to adhere this, and because I use glimmer paper, I will use tear tape. I'll just do a little crisscross with it. Am I the only one who's always so clumsy with glue? Okay, so we just need to adhere it to the middle. And what I did here is I actually used just regular snail tape for that. Also place it in the middle, just so that it's lined up with the little scallops here. And next what we'll do is we're going to place it inside our card. So as you can see, I'm using this as a guide since I already made this one. I'm gonna go ahead and glue it here, or adhere it here. I want it to stick out here because when I close this, there's a little bit of an element there, a layered element. So that was my intention with that. So I'm actually using this part. Only want to glue it on the half because the other half is gonna be sticking out. So this way you can kind of size it up by kind of folding this in and seeing where it's gonna go. So there, it's done. So we're done with this one too. Very last step is very easy. We're gonna go ahead and stamp our sentiment in the middle, and for that I used Cherry Cobbler and once again the Mossy Meadow for the little fleur-de-lis looking thing, or little flourish thing. So it's very simple, very easy. I'm just gonna put everything else away. Okay, I'm just gonna ink it up and stamp it where I want it to be, which I wanted it down here so that I can go ahead and write my note here. Okay, and the last step is my little flourish. And I just kind of wanted it to be the continuation of this motif here. So oops, looks like I didn't ink that up all the way. So there you go. That's why I love clear stamps. You can see where it's inked and where it's not. Okay, and now one on the bottom. See? Super easy, right? Okay, so there you have it. That's this card, and so this was my original, and this is my newest one. I added more shimmer paint to this, so it's a little bit shimmerier, but otherwise it's the same two cards, as you can see, and really cool. You could use this, like I said, for Christmas. I love this design, the fold out of this. simply because I can add a picture here. You could do so much with this. You could be sending this for a birthday card, you know, if you did a birthday theme, but anything really. Anyway, if you enjoyed this tutorial, come visit my blog at www.ilovetostamp.com. You can't forget it because we all love to stamp, right? And I also have some videos on my blog as classes, and if you purchase from my store and $50 or more, you'll always get my monthly videos for free. How fun is that? Thank you so much for visiting, and I'll see you later.